evening and welcome to the San Bruno City Council meeting of February 23rd, 2016. Roll call, please.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Here.
Vice Mayor Marty Medina.
Here.
Mayor Ruane.
Here.
Councilmember Rico Medina.
Here.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Here. Harry Burrows, would you lead us in the pledge, please? To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do have a couple of brief announcements. I would like to remind everyone that the San Bruno Community Foundation Memorial Scholarship Initiative is up and running. You can look it up at the San Bruno Community Foundation's website. Email scholarships@sbcf.org or call 650-763-0775, giving out scholarships for graduating high school seniors and for graduating high school seniors into a 2-year college or a 4-year university. So very exciting, and this is part of the beginning of the $70 million restitution funds we received. Also, I just noticed driving the other day, if you haven't already seen the improvements at the National Cemetery, they're pretty striking, and it's really changed the dramatic look over there. And I will have to say a lot of it is because of our own Carolyn Livengood, who lives in this city and has worked with the Veterans Administration and Jackie Spear for many years to get this done. So it's a huge improvement. There's a new fence all up in El Camino Real, Sneath Lane, and it's really something to look at, as well as some of the improvements they're going to make on the inside of the structure too. So if you get a chance, that would be great. Presentations, we don't have any presentations this evening. Review of the agenda, if it's okay with the council, I'd like to move item 11, which is the annual report from the Traffic Safety and Parking Committee, to right after item number 8, which are public hearings. Approval of the minutes of the special council meeting of February 9th and the regular council meeting of February 9th, 2016. Any errors, corrections, omissions? Seeing none, to be approved as submitted. The consent calendar, all items are considered routine or implemented earlier council action, may be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless requested. Anything on the consent calendar?
Move to approve consent.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Item number 8, we're going to hold a public hearing this evening to take the following actions to approve the office project at 1250 Grundy Lane and associated environmental determination. 4 items. We're going to adopt a resolution adopting the mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program. Item 2, waive the first reading and introduce an ordinance amending and replacing the existing development plan for 1250 Grundy Lane. Item 3, adopt a resolution approving the installation of a red curb along the north side of Grundy Lane. And item number 4, adopt a resolution approving a planned development permit and an architectural review permit for the proposed office project at 1250 Grundy Lane.
Thank you, Ian. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. My name is Matt Neubaumer. I'm an Associate Planner with the Community Development Department. It's my pleasure, and I'm very excited to present the item before the Council tonight, which calls for the construction of a new 3-story office building. This new building would serve as the new administration building for the San Francisco Police Credit Union. As many of you know, and as you are aware, and as you can see in the photo on the left-hand portion of your screen, the site is currently vacant. However, this was not always the case. The site was a former home of the TGI Fridays restaurant, which was demolished in May of 2014. However, prior to its demolition, the restaurant closed in 2009 and was vacant for approximately 5 years. During this 5-year period, the site deteriorated over time, led to a lot of vandalism, graffiti, broken windows, all sorts of issues. Demolishing the building in 2014 was definitely a step in the right direction, but staff finds that the proposal before the council tonight is a tremendous improvement and would greatly enhance the Bay Hill Office Park environment by developing a blighted property. It's also important to note that this would be the first new building in the Bay Hill Office Park in the past 15 years. The 3-story office building would contain approximately 67,500 square feet of floor area. Various workstations, conference rooms, and training rooms will be located on all levels. It's also important to note that the first floor would contain a small retail credit union branch, for the San Francisco Police Credit Union members. A total of 215 total parking spaces are proposed. The majority of those parking spaces are located in 2 levels of subterranean parking, with the remaining at surface level. The site is 1.7 acres in total area, has a general plan land use designation of regional office, and has an existing zoning classification of PD, which stands for planned development. The San Francisco Police Credit Union plans to grow into this building over the next 10 years or so. Upon initial occupancy, which is anticipated in the second quarter of 2018, the credit union would occupy the second and third level of this building. At that time, they anticipate anywhere between 70 to 80 employees. The plan right now is to lease out a portion of the first floor to another tenant, and they anticipate anywhere between 50 to 60 employees on that first floor level. The credit union would grow into the site on a year-by-year basis, with the ultimate occupancy achieved in the year 2027, and it's anticipated there'd be a total of 210 employees. As proposed, the project requires an amendment to the existing development plan, a planned development permit, an architectural review permit, and the installation of a red curb along the north side of Grundy Lane. This project requires review from the Architects Review Committee, Traffic Safety and Parking Committee, the Planning Commission, and then ultimate approval from the City Council. Regarding the development plan amendment, as previously noted, the existing site has a zoning classification of PD, which stands for planned development. Each PD zoning district has a development plan associated with it. The current development plan only allows for a restaurant use and does not allow for an office use. Therefore, there is a need to amend the existing development plan to allow for an office use, which would be consistent with our general plan. Regarding the installation of the red curb, this did require review from the Traffic Safety and Parking Committee. The Traffic Safety and Parking Committee reviewed this request at their December 2nd, 2015 meeting and supported the installation of the red curbing. And really, the overall intent of installing this red curb is for safety purposes. And it's in order to meet site distance requirements for exiting motorists at the 2 driveways proposed on site. As indicated, the project was reviewed by the Architecture Review Committee, Traffic Safety and Parking Committee, and Planning Commission. All 3 of these bodies forwarded the project onto the council with a favorable recommendation. In preparation of these meetings and public hearings, staff has worked very closely with Newground, the project applicant, on a number of different topics. One of those topics that I'd like to discuss a little bit further is the Transportation Demand Management Plan, also known as a TDM plan for short. This TDM plan is included as an attachment to your staff report. I believe it's attachment 12. And the overall intent of a TDM program or TDM plan is to reduce the number of vehicle trips to and from the site and to increase or encourage the use of transit, bicycle, and pedestrian travel. There's a number of measures outlined within their plan. I just want to highlight 4 of those measures. The applicant is going to be subsidizing transit tickets for those employees taking public transportation. They have committed to a $50 subsidy. Additionally, they will be participating in the existing shuttle service that's operated by Walmart.com. They'll also provide lockable bike storage on site and provide showers with changing rooms. To ensure compliance and to really evaluate the effectiveness of the proposed TDM measures, staff has included a condition of approval which requires annual reports to the Community Development Department for the first 5 years and every other year thereafter, describing the ongoing implementation of the Transportation Demand Management Plan and the measures selected for the project. There's one last topic that I'd like to discuss very briefly, and that's the environmental review associated with this project. The city contracted with Rainey Planning and Management for the preparation of an initial study and mitigated negative declaration, and a detailed traffic study was also prepared by Crane Transportation Group. The environmental document determined that the proposed project would not have a significant effect on the environment with the incorporation of mitigation measures. Those mitigation measures were included within the environmental document itself, also were included within the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and lastly, they were also included as conditions of approval on the project. Representatives from the environmental firm and the traffic firm are present tonight and would be available to answer any questions. With that said, staff would recommend that the council adopt a resolution adopting the mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program, waive the first reading and introduce an ordinance amending and replacing the existing development plan for 1250 Grundy Lane. Adopt a resolution approving the installation of a red curb along the north side of Grundy Lane. And lastly, adopt a resolution approving a plan development permit and an architectural review permit. This concludes the staff presentation. I would like to point out that the applicant has prepared a presentation as well. They'll go into a little bit more detail regarding the architectural elements of the proposal. However, in the meantime, I'd be happy to answer any clarifying questions that you have. Thank you.
Any questions for staff at this time?
Through the chair?
Irene?
Thank you. Because there's going to be more than one tenant, how is this going to work? Are the credit union people going to require the tenants to do the traffic mitigation elements? Or is that going to be part of their, how is that going to work?
Good question. And all tenants who will be occupying the structure will be subject to the Transportation Demand Management Plan. And all tenants that occupy that building would require, or they would be required to provide that annual report to staff so we could evaluate the effectiveness of the proposed TDM measures that are put in place.
Okay, and if you find them not effective, are you going to review other means of mitigating the traffic?
They definitely could be, and any changes to the Transportation Demand Management Plan could be reviewed and ultimately approved by the Community Development Director.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Anything else for staff? All right, the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Dean Wilcoxon. I'm a senior project architect with Newground. On behalf of SF Police Credit Union and Newground, we'd like to express our appreciation for allowing us to make this brief presentation this evening. We'd also like to express our appreciation working with both Matt and David in terms of bringing this project to fruition at this point. The credit unions are very excited as far as moving this project forward. We've been working with SF Police Credit Union for several years now, and this evening sort of marks, which I say, the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, that we've been working for. In general, what I'd like to touch upon with the project itself, as you've looked in your packages and with the boards that are over here, are some of the things that we addressed with the credit union as we move forward on the Grundy site. As you know, the site's a very tight site. Likewise, from a standpoint of the nature of the buildings in there, there's a very strong corporate sense. And yet, as we looked at it, we wanted to come up with a building that had a very unique look to it, something that, again, would stand the test of time and at the same time be very functional. As Matt mentioned, it's roughly a 3-story building. One of the things we did very early on with the building is we wanted to be very sensitive in terms of the massing of the building. And so as you look at the building as it faces currently onto Grundy, we started off trying to bring in a strong 1-story mass. The building in general then is set up so that it has a strong base. The materials on the outside primarily are glass fiber reinforced concrete. That is for the first 2 stories. As you get to the 3rd story, we wanted to lighten it up using a lot of glazing, a lot of metal panels. Again, what we did with around the building is we've accented the entrances and several portions of the building with these masses, and that has a material that's called a Trespa rain screen. So it's a very unique product. I think it's going to have a very strong look for the building itself. We also were able to accent the building with several sunscreens, both at the window openings and also at the stair massing elements. Overall, the way the site is set up, we've had to work very closely with grades. Starting off working underneath the 50-foot height limit, that was one of the major criterias that we had to observe. And so the building, floor-to-floors are set up in such a way that even with units on the roof, we're going to work within that limitation. And likewise, as you look at the plans, we've also tried to do an extensive job of landscaping around the building, the use of retaining walls, helping it step down the site. Overall, I think once the building is constructed, it's going to be a great addition in terms of the overall fabric of the office park. Any questions?
Any questions for our architect? No? Okay. Great, thank you. At this point in time, I'll open the public hearing. Any members of the public wish to address the council on this item? Okay, seeing none, if we close the public hearing, you're going to be precluded from talking to us about this. Any action by the council?
Nobody wishes to speak. I'll go ahead and move to close public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Any discussion or action by the council at this time? We have 4 items.
Through the chair.
Yeah, Ken?
I think it's a very handsome building, and I know it's probably a lot more work to get this thing approved because it's not a restaurant. But I believe that we're welcoming the San Francisco Credit Union with open arms and and have a nice long-term relationship with them here. I will now adopt the resolution. Where is it? Adopting the mitigated negative debt.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Rico Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.
Okay. Now I'd like to make a motion to waive the first reading and introduce an ordinance.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second to waive the first reading and introduce the ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Adopt the resolution approving the installation of red curb.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Rico Medina.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Marty Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.
And finally, to adopt the resolution approving the plan development permit and architectural review.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Rico Medina.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Marty Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. And I know you said that you were looking forward to coming here, not near as much as we want you here. We've been working, Ken and I have worked on this for quite a while, and it's very, very exciting, and we're really looking forward to your presence, so welcome. Thank you very, very much. Irene?
Do you know, what's your timeline? When are you going to, now that all this is approved, when do you plan on construction, et cetera?
To come to the,
Yeah, do you
because
mind?
we're on cable, so.
I guess there's no neighbors to worry about.
Hi, I'm Janet Goodman, Project Manager. We are working concurrently with this entitlement process for a plan review with the Building and Safety. So our plans are being reviewed right now, and with good luck, on April 7th, we will conclude all of that and be issued a building permit concurrent with the 30-day period after the second reading. So that's what we're thinking of. We're hoping to start in mid to late April, and construction will take about 18 months.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right, thank you very much. Congratulations. Now we will move to item 11, which is to receive the annual report from the Traffic Safety and Parking Committee, and I believe Jessica Barnes is going to give that report.
Good evening. Hi there, Mr. Mayor. It's our annual presentation, which is not up yet. Jimmy's getting that. Just stand there. How you guys doing? All right. So the Traffic Safety and Parking Committee for 2015. I'm the chair, Jessica Barnes Lopez, Mark Howard, fellow member Eric Wood, Tom Hamilton, and last year's vice chair, Tim Ross. Our staff support Jimmy Tan, Public Services Deputy Director, David Wong, Assistant Engineer, Tim Mahon, Police Lieutenant, and Ryan Johansson, Police Sergeant. The Traffic Safety and Parking Committee responsibilities are to review and recommend actions to the City Council. We do traffic calming, parking, and local traffic issues. We review policies and programs affecting traffic and parking for final City Council action. We adopted the parking restriction application in 2010, the traffic calming toolkit in 2011, and the crosswalk installation guidelines in 2013. We hold public meetings engaging the community. We also have mailers, our city website, the city staff contact information, monthly public meetings, and last year we had 46 residents and business owners attend the meetings. Our traffic calming analysis for 2015, we did work on Angus Avenue, Earl Avenue, Evergreen Avenue, Fasman Avenue, Huntington Avenue, Poplar Avenue, Santa Ynez Avenue, Susan Drive, Walnut Street, and Valleywood Drive. We also had an analysis of special parking restrictions, a red curb at Lunardi's Market, a red curb at 1070 San Mateo Avenue, a red curb at 1250 Grundy Avenue, which we just saw, and a white curb at 461 El Camino Real. Other traffic analysis last year was an all-way stop warrant at Evergreen and Valleywood, a crosswalk installation at Susan and Elston and Susan and Summit, and traffic ingress and egress at the U.S. Postal Office located on Huntington Avenue, which is still a work in progress. Last year's accomplishments, we performed an initial parking study of the area bounded by Tanforan Avenue, San Mateo Avenue, Huntington Avenue, and I-380. We received initial public input regarding the implementation of a parking permit district, and we are currently conducting a survey to determine if parking restrictions should be implemented in this area, which I do believe we're addressing next week. Traffic calming along Susan Drive, we had a lot of public input on that. Speed limit painted on the roadway, and installation of the portable radar speed sign is pending, as we still need that. Traffic calming along Valleywood Drive, we did have public input on that. We had the speed limit painted on the roadway, or it will be. Installation of edge lines and installation of speed limit signs, also still pending. Our goals for 2016, to continue to review and streamline the use of adopted policies in reviewing requests for parking restrictions, stop signs, and traffic calming. To participate in the development of the bicycle and pedestrian master plan. To conduct a survey to gauge interest in the implementation of a special parking district near the Caltrain station, BART station, and automobile body shops. And to collect feedback from neighborhoods that previously received traffic calming improvements. Our city contact information: to report any traffic engineering issues, contact the Department of Public Services at 650-616-7065 or send an email through the hyperlink on our website. To report traffic enforcement or parking issues, contact the police department at 650-616-7100, or again by completing the online traffic complaint form on the website. And that's fairly new, but it's working very well. Thank you.
Any questions for Jessica? Ken?
It's a far cry from when I served on the board in the early 90s. It's turned out to be a really complex and really demanding committee for your members. I'm just asking and I appreciate all the developments that have happened over the last 6 years or so, with the traffic calming and the documents and these. Are you able to really get a good feel for what the residents and the business owners are wanting, or is that communication still there? Because what I'm leading to is I know there's a lot of concern with this parking study in the San Mateo Avenue area, the north of San Bruno Avenue area, which is just an ongoing problem with parking.
It is. And what's happened, what we've noticed, I've been on the committee 6 years now, just about, and we have noticed that since the grade separation project completed, we actually have more public coming in now, because now the effects have set in and they're saying, wait a minute, we can't deal with this over here or this over there. But I think we were all fairly surprised at our last meeting. We had just a huge public outpour, really. They all brought their surveys in, and they all wanted to tell us about what they thought about the surveys. And it is leaning towards, people are really wanting this whole parking permit project, so that will definitely be something we'll be working on this year.
Yeah, and I know it's been going on for a few years now, and so just my thoughts would be if the committee felt that you need a study session, hosted by your committee and also the city council to try to, really get a firm grasp on what the community, what that area wants, and get our input so that you don't drag it out even longer, with your committee and then having to come to us. So that's my suggestion, but great work, and looking forward to see. And that post office, good luck on how you deal with that, so.
I'm determined.
you.
I'm not going to give up on it. It will happen.
I break the law once in a while, too.
Anything else? That's great. As I say at all of these annual reports, the commissions, boards, and committees are really the lifeblood of the city. Behind the scenes, a lot of times, all volunteer work, a lot of hours, and you really make the city work. So please pass our heartfelt thanks to the rest of your board and commission members, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Item number 9 now, public comment on items not on this agenda. It is the council's policy to refer matters raised in this forum to staff for investigation or action where appropriate. The Brown Act prohibits the council from addressing or acting upon any matter not agendized pursuant to state law. Would anyone like to address the council under public comment? Could just tell us your name and street, please.
Name's Neil Wild, that's Princeton Drive. 3 things. I was here several months ago regarding the lateral sewer line issue. I asked the council if they would consider reviewing their policy change and not helping the public with that any longer. I don't know where we stand on that, whether or not that's been addressed or not, I don't know. I would continue to ask the council, if they haven't yet, to look into that, if they would do so. The other thing is, I understand that recently San Bruno chose to fly solo with regards to complement of fire chiefs in the city. I don't understand how San Bruno feels it can fly solo in the current world we live in, where everybody's going with consolidated services. I know that there was a lot of hard work done in trying to make the shared services with San Bruno work and happen, and it just didn't seem to. And it is what it is, I guess, at this point. I guess my question to the council would be, is this an indefinite, what is the council's plan on this? Is this an indefinite thing that is there a plan in place that we're looking to do something down the road, or is this flying solo idea going to be the way it's going to be for an indefinite period of time? Because if it is, it's fiscally irresponsible to think that San Bruno, with 2 fire stations, can fly solo with a full complement of chiefs. So something that, and I don't know if the city council is aware that we're the only city, if I'm not mistaken, or the only city on the entire peninsula that has chosen to fly solo with regards to this subject. So I don't understand it. The other thing is, real quickly, the street lights in my neighborhood. I mean, the last letter I got was kind of like they threw up their hands and said they didn't really know. Again, I don't know all the details. I'm sure it's a very complex problem and a very complex situation. But some company, I understand also that the city chose to farm that out to a company to try and repair it. If it's the company that I was told it was, it's a relatively small company. There's got to be some company out there. This isn't a unique problem to San Bruno. It's happened before, I'm sure. Somebody out there knows how to fix it. It shouldn't take a year to fix. You're talking about all these different traffic things and stuff, but we're not providing a safe neighborhood for our citizens at night by not having streetlights. So I don't understand a couple things. How the city can stop a lateral sewer line problem because it's too expensive, yet we can afford to hire all these chiefs, and yet we can't find anybody to fix lights. I don't understand. So if the city council has all these things, I certainly hope there's a plan in place for the near future to address this consolidated services issue, because fiscally you can't continue this forever. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie?
Mr. Mayor, if I might provide a very brief response, and I would invite Mr. Wild to discuss at least the fire issue further, because I think that's a complicated issue. In very short, the city did not decide unilaterally or independently to, quote, fly solo. That decision was reached by actually our partners, the Central County Fire Department, and we were essentially dismissed from further consideration of consolidated services. So we'd be happy to discuss that with you further and to share a little bit more detail about exactly what happened there.
Well, real quick, I understand all that. I did some research and all that, and I talked to several people that were part of that board, and I understand some of the situations, the way they went. My only thing is that as a citizen of San Bruno, there is a solution to it. There's got to be a solution to it that's workable, because the solution that the city has chosen is not responsible. It's not. We have 2 fire stations. We have 9 people on duty at a time. We don't need a full complement of chiefs. Right. It's just spending money that, and believe me, I've got nothing against it, and I got nothing against chiefs, and I got nothing against the fire department. But as a citizen, we got to have some kind of plan in place to try and resolve this.
Well, let me just say it's public comment, so we don't want to get into a big dialogue, but I think the city manager just wanted to say something about that. It wasn't our decision to fly solo.
Yeah. And again, we're happy to discuss that further with you. On the second issue, and this may be of interest both to the City Council as well as to the public generally, another letter went out. I believe they were received in the Crestmore 1 and portion of the Crestmore 3 neighborhood over the weekend that outlines our plan for repair that is beginning imminently. We have engaged a contractor. We expect that work will actually be done within the next, let's just say 3 months. I think it actually will be a little bit sooner than that. So we're proceeding per the council's direction to contract for repair via replacement of the underground wiring pole to pole, and we look forward to that being resolved very quickly.
Great news, thank you. And I'd like to thank the council for choosing the San Francisco Credit Union and not another motel.
Thank you. Anyone else under public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go right on to conduct of business. Item 10A, adopt a resolution accepting the Crestmore Glenview Neighborhood Phase 3 Utility Replacement Project as complete and authorizing release of the remaining contract retention amount.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Harry Burrows, and I'm the city's project manager for the Crestmore Reconstruction Project. Item before you tonight is acceptance of the Phase 3 Utility Replacement Project in the Crestmore neighborhood. The closeout of this project represents a significant milestone in the reconstruction of the neighborhood and is part of the overall comprehensive infrastructure rebuild and replacement that the city initiated in the wake of the PG&E gas pipeline explosion and fire. The first phases of the reconstruction consisted of the Crestmore Canyon slope repairs, as well as sewer and water line improvements in the immediate aftermath of the explosion. The second phase of work replaced all of the underground utilities within the fire-damaged area of the neighborhood. This Phase 3 project represents the third major phase of reconstruction and consists of the replacement of water, sewer, and storm drainage pipes within the remaining portion of the neighborhood, representing about 3/4 of the entire neighborhood area. We're also currently in the closeout stages of the upper sanitary sewer lateral project. The lateral project has proven to be a very complex, time-consuming, and costly project. It has had a definite impact to the overall reconstruction timeline, adding well over a year to the entire project schedule. However, the benefit is that almost the entire Crestmore neighborhood has new sewer laterals from each house to the new sewer lines located within the street. We'll be putting the final major portion of the reconstruction, the replacement of the sidewalks, curbs, roadway, and streetlights, a project we call the Phase 4 surface restoration project, out to bid in the coming weeks. But in regards to the closeout and acceptance of this Phase 3 project, the topic of tonight's action, the City Council authorized the award of the contract to JMB Construction on May 28th of 2013. The contract amount was $6,473,400, and a construction budget of a little over $9 million was approved. This amount included a 25% contingency. It included budget for soils and trench compaction testing, as well as an enhanced level of construction oversight and management, which the city had previously committed to the Crestmore neighborhood. The final project amount was $8,522,426, coming in a little more than $500,000 under the construction budget. During the course of construction, a total of 40 change orders were issued to the contractor. As outlined in the staff report, the nature of reconstruction of 55-plus-year-old infrastructure within a neighborhood that's underlain by a variety of subsurface conditions presented unique challenges. One of the most significant change orders involved a substantial claim for differing site conditions. Staff was successful in negotiating resolution of this issue to a reasonable amount, and I'll provide a little bit more detail on that here in a second. Change orders of this quantity and nature could have resulted in significantly more costs and time delays. However, the project was completed within the overall budget, and substantial completion was issued a little over a year from the commencement of the work. It may be noted that the substantial completion was issued in September of 2014, and we're just now bringing this project forward for closeout. The reason for this is that JMB Construction is also the contractor for the upper lateral project. There's some overlap between several of the items that were on their punch list for the Phase 3 project, particularly related to surface restoration work within the neighborhood. JMB performed this work in conjunction with the lateral project, thus delaying the closeout of this Phase 3 project. A full listing of the change orders, their amounts, and a summary of project expenditures are listed on the project acceptance form that's attached to the staff report. But let me just take a second to expand upon two of the very large change orders within this project. Change order 24 was in the amount of $640,000 for differing site conditions. The contractor, once he started construction in certain areas of the neighborhood, did encounter materials that were much different than those that were shown on the soil borings and within the contract documents. They originally requested an extra in the amount of almost $1.4 million to cover their excessive costs. Staff did perform extensive forensic analysis and review of JMB's claims, including looking at details such as equipment rental rates, pipe installation production rates, as well as off-haul and import cost. JMB's production was slowed in many locations within the neighborhood. In some instances, they were down to just installing one length of sewer pipe a day, essentially 5 foot of pipe within the roadway. And special equipment and shoring was required as well. So there was some validity to JMB's extra request. After consultation with both the city attorney as well as outside counsel, it was recommended that a negotiated solution be reached. And that represents a negotiated amount in that change order for $640,000. And then change order 13 is a credit actually for $604,000. And that was deletion of two very significant items within the contract. The contract documents called for a reconstruction, temporary reconstruction of Earl Avenue, a portion of Earl Avenue, as well as Glenview in the immediate vicinity of the explosion area. And if the council can remember, during that time frame of the construction, that piece of roadway was very damaged, not only from the original explosion, but also the subsequent construction of utilities in the area. So much so that we were receiving tremendous amount of complaints from the residents that had to drive through there. So we originally included a temporary overlay in that area. During construction, however, we explored another method, which was fiber slurry overlay, and it was deemed to be much less expensive. We were able to delete this item for the overlay and include the slurry seal of the entire neighborhood for essentially the same price. So that was a portion of the $604,000 credit. You'll see another change order listed there for a little over $300,000, which was for the fiber slurry. The remaining of the $300,000 credit was the deletion of street light, conduits, and pole boxes. We'd originally included that work within this contract. The thought behind that was to have all of the underground work done at once. However, given that we didn't have final design of the streetlight system, we decided to delete those items and place them in this next contract that'll be going out here in several weeks. So those are two of the larger change orders that you'll see on the list. And I'm happy to answer detailed questions related to any other change orders, should you have those. But just to finish with the completion of this project, the total amount of infrastructure reconstruction in the neighborhood is a little more than $20 million. The upcoming Phase 4 project and the future Earl Glenview Park replacement will push the total construction within the neighborhood to over $30 million. Some residents in the neighborhood have made recent inquiries regarding the city's ability to finish the remaining projects, the Phase 4 surface improvement work and the park. Based on our current cost estimates, there are adequate funds to complete all of the remaining work within the neighborhood, including the reconstruction of the streets, the sidewalks, curb and gutter, new street light system, as well as the reconstruction of the Earl Glenview Park. So with that, I am done and welcome your questions.
Any questions for Harry? Ken?
Harry, thank you for the detailed explanation of those two change orders. What concerns me is what lay people and other and people in the construction business tend to think of what happens during the bidding process, and then once awarded the contract, get hit with a bunch of change orders.
Right.
This was, magnified because, like you said, that they came at you with $1 million change order, and so how can we, and now we're down to, I guess, about a $300,000 credits that will carry over to the next phase. How can we be sure that Phase 4 won't be, maybe a similar instance?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Unfortunately, with underground construction, it probably has the highest risk for change orders of any type of construction, because you are dealing with conditions that you can't see. And particularly in this neighborhood, as I explained, we ran into conditions with rock, with caving soils, with sand, with groundwater that were not anticipated at the depths that we were that we encountered them. The advantage that we have with this next project is it's what we call the surface improvement project. So it's everything that we see on the surface. So with any project of this size and nature, we will have change orders, and that's why we'll put a contingency in there to cover those. But to have changes or unforeseen conditions like we encountered on this project, we will not have those on the next project.
Anything else for Harry? Or action on this item? Resolution.
I'll adopt the resolution.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Rico Medina.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Marty Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item 10B, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a 4-year contract with Peninsula Pump and Equipment, Inc. for wastewater pump station emergency and specialty repair services in an amount not to exceed $25,000 annually.
Honorable Mayor, members of council, my name is Jim Birch, Public Services Deputy Director of Operations and Maintenance. I'm here tonight to provide information regarding the resolution related to our wastewater pump station emergency and specialty repair services. A little bit of background: our city's sewer system consists of 85 miles of gravity sewers that all flow to 6 pump stations, and those 6 pump stations then convey wastewater to 2 miles of force main to the Shaw Road pump station, owned by the city of South San Francisco, which then transfers the sewage to the jointly owned water quality plant in South San Francisco. Currently, city staff provides maintenance services for these pump stations, which includes inspections and preventative maintenance, and our staff complete the majority of the needed repairs. We have 2 full-time dedicated employees, one of which who I know watches almost every city council meeting, Brian Kennedy, who's been with the city for about 28 years. He and his partner, Andy, not only are very dedicated, but they're very skilled. And they'll continue to provide these services, and no change to our current pump maintenance program is proposed or anticipated. To supplement our staff, contracted services are used for large-scale emergency repairs, specialty repairs, and specialty welding and fabrication. And oftentimes, the heavy equipment and cranes needed are the things that the contractor brings to bear to supplement our staff. And we utilize these services about 7 times per year, given the different repairs that have occurred since 2013. The average is about 7 times a year. A private contractor has a certified and licensed staff, and they are available 24 hours a day, and they work hand in hand with our staff. Our staff often will remove a motor, for example, with the contractor, and the contractor might take it back to do further specialized work. The resolution before you tonight will not change or alter the current practice, either with the city staff or when we need an outside contractor. The services will remain the same. The purpose of this contract before you tonight is to formalize the arrangements with a single contractor that will have a guaranteed annual rate, which will streamline our process, resulting in cost savings both in terms of our staff time and the necessary response time to repair critical infrastructure. Pump station emergency repair is critical to maintain the flow through the system and to prevent and minimize sanitary sewer overflows. Best management practices recommends that agencies have outside emergency resources, such as a contractor that we're proposing, available to complement our normal staff. Currently, the city does not have an annual pump station emergency repair contract. Since 2013, like I said, we've procured these services on an as-needed emergency basis about 7 times a year. The contract with Peninsula Pump provides the city, or would provide the city if approved, with reliable, consistent emergency response services with an experienced and qualified contractor for the duration of 4 years. January 13th of this year, we sent out a request for proposal, was advertised in several locations, the website and newspapers and so forth. We received a total of 2 proposals. City staff rated the proposals based on labor and equipment rates, qualifications, references, and ability to complete emergency and specialty repairs as requested. After reviewing the proposals and checking references, Peninsula Pump and Equipment located in San Mateo demonstrated that they met all the requirements and provide a consistent and quality level of service with the lowest rate between the 2 contractors. Peninsula Pump has extensive experience providing emergency pump station repairs and metal fabrication for other cities such as Burlingame, Millbrae, San Carlos. And we also have a very cooperative and collaborative relationship with them and have counted on them many times for emergency repairs. This contract has an annual renewal option extending through the end of June, the year 2020, which can be terminated by the city at any time. The funding for these emergency repair services has been budgeted annually in the wastewater operating budget contractual services line item in the amount of $25,000. Staff recommends the adoption of resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Peninsula Pump for pump station equipment and specialty repair services in an amount not to exceed $25,000 annually. And I'm available for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim? Rico?
Through the chair, thank you. So you answered the one question about the 4-year contract, so the city can opt out, so appreciate that. You said it's about an average of 7 times a year without this contract, and what does that equate to as far as if we did have 7 calls a year, what is the dollar amount? Even though the line item is $25,000 up to in the contract agreement.
I don't have the information about what, each repair obviously is going to be a little different regarding the cost, but we've been able to stay within that $25,000 for the past few years. And I think that's a testament to not only our staff maintaining the equipment, but also doing the preventative things so things don't break and blow up. But things do happen, and oftentimes we had a motor that went out, I'm not sure the time frame, but the mounting bracket was also broken, and that was not an expensive repair, but we don't have the tools and equipment, the fabrication capability to do that, and so that was something that the Peninsula Pump actually did for us and did a great job. It wasn't a high dollar thing, but it was very critical. So I don't think I have the answer for you as far as the dollar amounts.
City manager.
So I'm reminded that we've only spent about 17,000 average per year.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. So we're spending about an average right now of 17,000. We're asking now to spend an average of 25,000, which has been the allocation that we've had in each of the operating budgets.
No, I would just clarify that the contract would envision up to $25,000, not
Doesn't mean
an
it has to
average
go
of-
that high, but-
And it wouldn't.
It wouldn't, but we do
unless
average
it was
about
absolutely
17.
necessary.
Okay, so maybe I'm just not clear. So it is for 25,000 annually, or is up to
Up to.
25,000? And does that assist us in any way as far as staff, as far as the hours that are currently used or spent, or that would remain the same?
No, our operation would remain the same. It would give us the ability now with a contract to provide the services that we've been utilizing on an on-call kind of emergency basis. Would put in place just a formal contract to do what we've been doing up to the 25.
Up to that point. So
Correct.
it still could be 17, could be 15, could be 20. Depends upon the need, and this will ensure us this contract, but we do have an opt-out option.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Good. Anything else for staff? Action on this item?
I'll adopt the resolution.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Rico Medina.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Marty Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item 10C, adopt a resolution rejecting all bids and authorizing the re-advertisement of bid for the Transit Corridor Pedestrian Connection Improvement Project Phase 3.
Good evening, honorable mayors, members of the City Council. Jimmy Tan, Acting Public Services Director, City Engineer. The city's capital improvement program includes 4 projects within the Transit Corridor Pedestrian Connection Improvements Program to create a pedestrian-oriented environment with improved streetscape between public areas, transit stations, and residential neighborhoods. The item tonight is the 3rd project within the program. The city received a grant back in 2012, December, under the Metropolitan Transportation Commission One Bay Area Grant Program for the landscape portion of the project, which was excluded in the first project due to funding constraints. And this amount of the grant was $265,000 for the cost of construction. The project would enhance the existing open area of Huntington Avenue just north of I-380 with landscaping to create a more pleasant environment for pedestrian traveling to and from BART and Caltrain stations. The city advertised the project in the San Mateo County Times newspaper on January 12th, as well as on January 19th. And also notice to bidders were sent to 30 landscaping contractors. Unfortunately, the city received only 1 bid during the bid opening on February the 2nd. The bid was received from Green Carpet Landscaping in the amount of $87,862, which was approximately $7,000 higher than the engineer's estimate. Since the project is federally funded, it has a disadvantaged business enterprise, or otherwise known as DBE, goal of 5%, and bidders are required to either meet this goal or make good faith efforts to meet this DBE goal. Disadvantaged business enterprise is a for-profit small business that is at least 51% owned by one or more individuals who are both socially and economically disadvantaged. Upon review of the contractor's bid, staff determined that the bid proposal was non-responsive. The good faith efforts were not summarized on the included state form as required by the contract documents. Also, the contractor did not indicate any use of these DBE companies in the bid. In addition, letters from a surety and an insurer were not provided as required by the contract documents. A letter is required that the surety agrees to provide the bidder with the required performance and payment bonds, and from an insurance underwriter confirming that the insurer will provide a bidder with the required coverage. None were submitted as part of the bid. Due to the non-responsive bid, staff is recommending to reject the bid and re-advertise the project in March. The project, will be completed somewhere in 2017. In order to promote the project, staff will make contact with qualified contractors to encourage them to submit bids. And staff is anticipating to return to City Council in a couple of months to award the construction contract. And this concludes my presentation. If you haven't answered any questions.
Any questions for staff at this time? Ken?
Jimmy, I'm just a little confused. It's a $265,000 grant, and most of it's been done. How much is left? How much was expended out of that grant?
This
And,
grant was specifically just for this landscaping work.
I know,
and we
you said,
haven't-
and it was $87,000, almost $88,000, and it's about $7,000 higher than the estimate. Does that mean that there's $80,000 left in the grant?
No, we have $265,000 part of the grant, but the engineer's estimate was $80,000 for this landscaping project.
Right, but the project, in the staff report, it says the project was bid out and apparently completed without the landscape portion. Is that?
No.
So the project hasn't been done at all?
The project hasn't been done. The first project was back in 2012. That was done by TriNet, and the landscaping portion was included as part of that project. But with the budget constraints, that was removed, and the city subsequently applied for another grant and received $265,000 for this work.
Okay.
Yeah, so as part of, with the $265,000 for the landscape work, since the bid came in at $80,000, anything that's left over will be returned back to the state.
Any other questions? Action by the council?
I'll go ahead and introduce a resolution rejecting all the bids and authorizing a re-advertisement of the bid for the Transit Corridor Pedestrian Connection Improvement Project Phase 3.
Councilmember Rico Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Marty Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. 10D, receive a report and provide direction to staff regarding a response to the San Bruno Community Foundation proposed projects.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. As the Council is aware, Community Foundation, San Bruno Community Foundation was in front of you on January 26th with 4 very exciting proposed projects to be funded by the foundation using the first rollout of project funding from the $70 million restitution fund negotiated by the city and being administered by the Community Foundation. And tonight's report is the proposed City Council formal response to the foundation on those 4 specific projects to be funded by the foundation. And I would just note, as a matter of housekeeping at the beginning, 2 items. Number 1, the draft letter has just been delivered to the City Council, so I'm going to, obviously don't expect you to have read it. I'm going to walk through each of the 4 projects and the content of the proposed response. And then secondly, the city attorney reminds me that Vice Mayor Medina will need to recuse himself from discussion on one of the 4 projects. He's prepared to do so, so we're going to walk through 3 of the 4 projects, ask for your action or consideration of action on those 3, and then unfortunately, Vice Mayor Medina will need to step down from the DS and will take the 4th project on which he's unable to participate. So first of all, as the City Council communicated to the foundation when the foundation was here on January 26th, this is a very exciting opportunity to realize the promise of improvements to benefit the entire community that the $70 million restitution fund was intended to provide. The City Council expressed its appreciation to the foundation and its congratulations for the good work that the foundation has already completed. And the proposed response reiterates that both that congratulations and that enthusiasm for the beginning of an exciting new chapter in this process and the opportunity to actually work toward concrete delivery of projects that fulfill that vision. Specifically, the letter is intended to respond both with the general support for the that the City Council has already expressed on the 4 proposed projects and to provide a more specific response on each of those 4. 2 of the projects have already essentially been approved by the City Council by your action on January 26th. I'll start with those 2. The first is the preparation of a community facilities vision plan, and in particular, the Foundation's proposed approach to the development of such a plan with a pre-planning process to be undertaken that would define both the scope of the comprehensive vision plan as well as a roadmap to developing the comprehensive vision plan. The Foundation has proposed $300,000 in funding for completion of the comprehensive vision plan, and the Foundation has proposed the specific use of the pre-planning process to, as I said, as a first step towards the completion of the comprehensive vision plan. At the January 26th meeting, the City Council appointed, or rather the Mayor appointed, a subcommittee of the Council comprised of himself and Councilmember O'Connell to work on this particular part of the Foundation's proposed projects. And I'm pleased to report, as the letter reports to the Foundation, that we're excited to begin the pre-planning process with a meeting to begin this week with the committee that will comprised of the Council subcommittee staff and a subcommittee of the Foundation board. That will be followed by a second meeting in mid-March, and then subsequently, within approximately 2 months, a completed work product from the pre-planning phase. At that point, staff anticipates that the City Council will have some additional information that will allow you to scope the selection of a consultant to move forward with the comprehensive vision planning process. And once a selection process has occurred, you will be in a better position to identify the cost of that comprehensive process and to consider any additional actions that may need to be taken with respect to funding. So while at this point we don't know whether $300,000 will be sufficient, it's certainly sufficient to make a good start with the pre-planning process and to work towards the identification of a consultant to assist with the comprehensive process. On the second project, and again, this is a really truly exciting project that the City Council has already authorized, and this letter simply reports back to the Foundation the status of our planning, and that is the Community Day sponsorship for delivery of a Community Day in the Park event for 2016. The City Council previously expressed its support for the Foundation's proposal that that event be delivered in early summer 2016, and you directed staff to contact and to, if feasible, to begin work in coordination with San Bruno Lions Club to coordinate the Community Day event for 2016 with the annual Lions Club Posy Parade event, which is traditionally held on the first Sunday in June. That work is already in process. The Lions Club has agreed to coordinate with the city in the delivery of a joint event, and that event is now planned and is being worked for delivery on June 5th, 2016. So that project is well in process, and we're really looking forward to just about 3 months from now delivering that event in coordination with the San Bruno Lions. The third initiative proposed by the Foundation is the identification of pedestrian safety improvements and implementation of those improvements on Cherry Avenue and in the downtown corridor. The Foundation identified those as important safety improvements and important locations given the volume of pedestrian traffic in both of those locations. And perhaps in part because of the foundation's identification and raising community consciousness about the need for the safety improvements in that location, we actually have the fortuitous opportunity of an ongoing discussion now with both Google YouTube as well as Walmart.com regarding the installation of improvements in the Cherry Avenue corridor and both companies' potential participation in funding those improvements. As such, this letter proposes that we focus the pedestrian safety improvement evaluation on the downtown corridor on San Mateo Avenue, and that we consider the potential for reallocating any available additional funds. The letter also outlines the city's standard process for pedestrian and other traffic and circulation improvement considerations to be developed for review and recommendation by the Traffic Safety and Parking Committee, our TSPC that you heard from tonight. And we look forward to working with the TSPC to bring back some proposed improvements and costs, and then potentially further conversation with the foundation regarding the potential for reallocation of any remaining funds. So at this point, I think I will stop and ask for any question or comment by the City Council, and then, as I said, your consideration of action to approve the general framework of the response back to the foundation on those three items.
Great. Any questions for the manager on these three items? Ken?
Community Day sponsorship, I'm glad to see that my colleagues in the Lions Club are cooperating and working well.
We are too.
I also want to reiterate that I do want to make it truly a community day, and so it's not just about the Lions, and I know that, you know, the Posey Parade is a Lions Club tradition, but, you know, Community Day means all aspects of the community, schools and other organizations too, and I'm hoping that's being communicated. As far as the lighted crosswalks, I would hope that we just don't find, you know, places to put those lighted crosswalks, that we look at regionally too, so that we can collaborate with other cities that are looking at these types of installations, and possibly what's the term I'm looking at? Discount for common discount throughout the region or something. I know they've done that with PED signs. I know they've done that with other types of equipment throughout the region, and contract with somebody to do a few here in San Bruno, do a few in maybe a neighboring community or something. Because as CCAG, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee with CCAG, we're always looking at ways to save money and increase the uses of our funds.
Anything else for the manager? Oh, Connie?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that actually in response to your first comment regarding the Community Day event, we're very pleased that the coordination with the Lions Club is an enthusiastic one. And in fact, the event, I think you will find that it will be a real opportunity not only to coordinate the two events, but to really provide a wonderful experience utilizing the whole of City Park, so that we don't anticipate at this point that there'll be a substantial impact on the typical activities that the Lions Club has hosted as part of the Posey Parade event, but really an opportunity to expand, to coordinate, and to really deliver a truly wonderful event, as I said, utilizing the whole of our beautiful city park. Regarding the crosswalks, I wasn't aware that there might be other cities considering or utilizing the opportunity of coordinated purchasing for the lighted crosswalks. I just would comment that our intent would be to actually look at at the pedestrian situation on San Mateo Avenue to determine whether and then what type of improvements are best suited to that location, but not to focus on any particular improvement, and to take advantage of the expertise, both of our staff as well as of the TSPC, in evaluating what is the best, most suitable improvement for this location, and then to follow our normal process in that regard. We'll certainly look at cooperative purchasing if that's an opportunity.
Anything
Chair?
else? Vice Mayor?
What was the quantity? It's not here. How much for the lighted crosswalks? Was it 200,000 or was it 100?
So the amount that the foundation had proposed in total for pedestrian improvements was $170,000.
Thank you.
Anything else? Do you want action on this, or?
We would appreciate your direction and guidance regarding finalization of the letter so that it can be distributed to the foundation, and then to proceed with the last item.
Okay, is it fair to say that the council, we have a consensus on the recommendations per the letter on the first three items? Okay? Yes. Okay, there you go. Let's get on to the last item, and I believe the Vice Mayor has to recuse himself.
Yes.
And just so the record will reflect that the Vice Mayor is recusing himself because he lives within 500 feet of the proposed park.
He can use the park when it's done, though, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, just making sure.
I think we're all looking forward to being able to use the park at that location. It's actually a terrific opportunity. And as the City Council is well aware, you have already made a very extensive commitment to this property and to the vision of a future park in this location, both to benefit the neighborhood, which does not have a neighborhood park nearby, but also to benefit the proximity to the downtown, at the southern end of the downtown. So this is a particularly exciting proposal and opportunity for us, as well as for the city, given your previous commitment of over $800,000 to purchase the property and to provide funding for demolition of the existing structures and a remediation of the site. Just as a side note, that work is in process, and during the next month, we expect to be in front of you again with a contract, with a request for award of a contract for the demolition and remediation activities, and we look forward to that work proceeding expediently thereafter. Given that we're already in process and the City Council has already expressed its priority for work to proceed in that manner, we would envision being able to begin a strategic park planning process similar to the one that has recently begun for the development or for the replacement of the Earl and Glenview Park that was destroyed in the 2010 PG&E gas line explosion and fire. That process has proved, with one meeting under our belt, to be a very great opportunity for people to get together to share their ideas and their vision for what the park should, what kind of amenities should be provided, how the site might be designed in order to provide maximum opportunity for use and enjoyment with potentially a variety of activities envisioned for that park. Similarly, we imagine that we know that there is a great deal of interest within the adjacent neighborhood, and we believe within the community as a whole, as the park at 324 Florida Avenue will be the first park to be developed within at least 2 decades within our community. And perhaps some of you on the City Council may know more exactly, but it has been many, many years. Although we take great pride in our parks and we have done a good job of upgrading and keeping them fresh with the installation of new play equipment, it's been a very long time since we've actually had the opportunity to build a new park. So this is a very exciting opportunity. Again, the letter outlines the process that we would envision utilizing, in particular a strategic or park visioning and planning process to be followed by specific park design development to be followed by construction of park improvements. Now, the foundation has outlined a desired timeframe for delivery of projects by the end of calendar 2016. I'm recommending to you tonight that we can begin that park planning process very quickly, and we can overlap that with the process that I just outlined for demolition and remediation of the site, and be in a position within, I would imagine, a few months to begin detailed design of the park improvements at 324 Florida. The foundation has identified $200,000 in funding for this project, for construction of a park, for planning, design development, and construction of a park. I'm sorry to have to recommend to you that that amount will not be sufficient, and the city does not yet have other funds programmed for the actual construction of a park. So again, the letter suggests that we will be in a position, once we complete the park vision process and design development, to understand more completely what the cost of construction will be, and then, as necessary, to review that further, either internally or with the foundation. So with that, that concludes the specific responses to the information that was outlined in the letter that you received from the foundation and considered on a preliminary basis at your January 26th meeting. And again, we would look forward to moving quickly to finalizing the letter and communicating with the foundation.
Good. Any questions? Rico?
Through the chair, and this is nothing on the letter, that's fine. Just as we enter into a budget season 2, I'd like to see staff look toward grants or opportunities as well with the foundation. I'd also like to see in the 16-17 budget going forward to ensure that we're going to have the resources in order, and that's been one of my concerns on this project, why I voted no originally, was to have it, we're going to invest time, invest money, we want to be able to keep it up and keep it to the standards that the neighborhood and this community expect. So I want to make sure the resources are allocated and the person power is available to ensure that.
Okay. Anything else? All right. We've discussed this before. I think this is important enough. I'd like to appoint a subcommittee to follow this through of Councilmember Rico Medina and Irene O'Connell. I think they'd be great proponents of this going forward. I'd also like Park and Rec to prepare 2 new shovels for these individuals here so that we can maintain this going forward. Anyway, we have a consensus that on the 324 Florida property?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And the Vice Mayor can return now. Item 12, comments from council members. First of all, I just want to say thank the Garden Club, which I neglected to do at the very beginning of the meeting, for our flowers they always provide. Anything else from council members? All right. Closed session, we already had it before the meeting, and we'll adjourn this meeting this evening to the next council meeting on March 8th right here at the Senior Center.